My name is Martyn Snow and I am the lead bishop for the Living in Love and Faith process. Living in Love and Faith is a journey of learning for the Church of England. We started it some years ago, mindful that our society has changed rapidly, and there was a need, therefore, for the Church to think carefully about our approach to questions of identity, of relationships, of marriage, and of sexuality. So over these last few years, we've had a whole process of learning, bringing in questions of science, from psychology, from sociology, all sorts of different fields. And we've done a wide process of listening across the whole of the church. We brought that together in a book, the Living in Love and Faith book, and also a study course. And then in 2023, the House of Bishops issued an apology to LGBTQI+ people for the way they had been treated by the church. We're still in the process of working with LGBTQI+ people to look at what that apology really means in practice. Yet the first stage has been to agree some prayers of love and faith which can be used in existing services. So the prayers of love and faith are a suite of resources and prayers which can be used by churches in praying with same-sex couples. They're not intended in any sense to be a sign of a marriage or indeed a blessing of a marriage, but rather, just as clergy can already in informal settings pray with same-sex couples, so now that can be done within an existing church service. It's a way of honouring the fact that for committed and loving same-sex couples, that the church wants to be able to celebrate their love with joy. The question of whether the prayers of love and faith can be used in standalone services, that is outside of existing services, is one that has proved contentious within the life of the church. For a church which does its theology primarily through its liturgy, it's understandable that this has raised questions about our doctrine and understanding of marriage. But the House of Bishops and General Synod has now agreed that these prayers can be used in standalone services with an understanding that they do not constitute a change in our doctrine of marriage. So churches that want to use the prayers in standalone services to celebrate with same-sex couples will be able to do so before too long, but they will need to register with their bishop so that the bishop knows which churches are doing it. And they will need to have consultations within their own church to ensure that the PCC and others are involved in the decision making. No one will be forced to use prayers that they simply do not agree with. There will be a process of opting in to using these prayers. But we're also clear that those who disagree with their own bishop regarding the theology behind these prayers will also need pastoral provision. Exactly what that looks like is still to be determined, but we are clear that there will be an option to request spiritual and pastoral oversight from another bishop. In this way, we hope that whether people are in agreement or in disagreement on this, there will be a way for them to remain truly a part of the Church of England, and for same-sex couples to experience the welcome of the Church of England. We're continuing to work on the process for an agreed way forward for the whole church. That's going to involve both the process of registration, the arrangements for pastoral provision, and there will be a bishop's statement giving a view on the House of Bishops' approach to all of this, as well as seeking to answer questions for those exploring their vocation and training within the church. All of this will take some time, which is why we will be bringing in updates to February's meeting of General Synod, And then from February to July 2025, we're hoping that diocesan synods will themselves be able to discuss these matters and feed back to us on the practical arrangements and how they might work within your own particular contexts. We're very aware that the questions raised by LLF play out in different ways in different parts of the country. Some of you will already have had your own discussions with your bishops in your own diocesan synods and believe that you see a clear pathway forward, which is great. We obviously simply want to ensure that there's a level of national consistency in all of this work, while also responding to particular local needs. So while the arrangements that we're looking at are primarily about the agreed way forward for the whole church nationally, we see it as a key principle that they will be applied in different ways, probably regionally across the Church of England. So not just individual dioceses, but groups of dioceses working together to ensure the right provision for all of our clergy and churches. I remain deeply hopeful that we will be able to find a way through our disagreements and remain as one church. We have a long tradition within the Church of England of disagreeing over all sorts of different questions. Indeed, we were born in disagreements, and yet, in one way or another, often very messily and often with real brokenness, we have nevertheless been able to remain together as one church. I do believe there is an element of brokenness within us as a church at this time, as we acknowledge all sorts of mistakes and things that we have got wrong in the past, and as we go on learning and wrestling with the question of what is God calling us to be and to do at this moment in our history. So for those unhappy about the arrangements, we hope that you will remain within the church and play a part in our ongoing learning. For those who feel that we are not moving fast enough in changing things, I understand that desire, but would ask you too to understand that this is a process of learning and that can't be hurried. So it is this learning of living with disagreements that I believe is core to our calling at this moment in time. And that's why we're inviting diocesan synods and the wider church to play a part in this process.